Hello, students. This is Professor Arsenault, which y'all know by now. This is the video lecture that I'm doing. Let's call it Current Events, Stuff Due Thursday, June 5th. Current Events, Stuff Due Thursday, June 5th. This is for JMS 200 in the summer of 2025 at San Diego State University. I'm going to do a video lecture like this every week. It's kind of putting some pressure and obligation on me because I have to crank it out very quickly so that y'all have time to actually do the video lecture by the upcoming Thursday. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take comments from the packback. I'm going to cover some current events and maybe some other material that's not in the pre-existing video lectures for the week. So I'm going to cover some new material, some current events, some material for the packback. In general, I will try and keep these current events lectures to less than 15 minutes. Let's say 15 minutes is the upper limit. The one today is going to be longer because of the media consumption survey. Many of y'all answered questions last week, how much TV you watched, favorite movies, favorite TV shows, that sort of thing. Thank you for doing that. And if you didn't do that, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, don't worry about it. You forgot it, and just don't worry about it. It's in the past. All right, share my screen, and let's do this. Okay, first up, here we have a death. This has happened just a couple days ago. Loretta Swit, also known as Hot Lips from the TV show MASH, passed away. Maybe some of y'all know the show MASH. Probably most of you don't. It was very popular, hugely popular show in the 1970s. That's an understatement. It was actually set in a MASH, a medical unit in the Korean War, but it was also a commentary on the Vietnam War, since that was very, very fresh in people's memory. When I say it was popular, that is an understatement. The finale of MASH, when it aired, attracted about 160 million viewers. It's considered the most watched television show ever when you look at percentage. Okay, now we're going to get into the finer points of ratings later in the semester, but a Nielsen rating is a percentage. So a rating of 60, or is actually 60.2, meant 60.2% of households. So a TV rating of 60 means 60% of households. Kamala Harris did an interview on 60 Minutes. This was before the election. Kamala Harris does an interview on 60 Minutes before the election. Trump, who at the time was also running for president, said that the interview had been unfairly edited, that they removed some ums and ahs. They sort of tightened up her phrasing. And this was trying to give some unfair advantage to Kamala Harris. Well, it obviously didn't work if it was giving her an advantage. So once he becomes president, then Trump sues. I think this might still be going on. He's suing 60 Minutes for some ridiculous, totally absurd figure, like billions and billions of dollars, saying that the editing was unfair. Every TV interview is edited, and it's not done for nefarious purposes. And Trump, even if you voted for him, the man rambles like a demented person at the end of a bar. I mean, you have to admit that even if you voted for him, the man says nonsensical, totally absurd, non-factual statements. Okay. So even his statements are edited. But anyway, this is a clear First Amendment violation. The president of the United States attacking a news outlet for what they've done, and they've done nothing wrong. They've done nothing wrong. However, because he is the president of the United States and has a lot of power and can wield a lot of power and is not afraid to weaponize politics and agencies, they did turn over the transcript, the original transcript of the interview, to try and show that they had not done anything wrong. A few months later, now we're up to April, the head of 60 Minutes resigned because he said he was getting too much pressure from people at the network to change, remove, or soften stories that might potentially be damaging about President Trump. Now, more recently, now we're up to May 19th, the head of CBS News quits over this ongoing tension, the internal tension that has to do with 60 Minutes and Trump attacking them. And it looks like Paramount, which is the owner of CBS, and the owner, or not the owner, but they sort of control 60 Minutes, Paramount, big corporation, Paramount putting pressure on CBS and 60 Minutes to back away from the watchdog role of the press. The press is supposed to be a watchdog, supposed to provide another types of checks and balances. So the president of CBS News quits, and here we go. I think you could see this, move myself a little bit. Now it's becoming more and more clear that Paramount is talking about giving some money not billions, but millions of dollars to Trump to kind of satisfy him and make the lawsuit go away. But it's becoming more and more apparent that Paramount is trying to do a merger with Skydance, and they want the government lawyers and the different government agency to approve this giant merger of companies. So Paramount, if you're following me, Paramount wants to play nice with Trump so that they can merge for corporate financial reasons, which means they are limiting the First Amendment freedoms of their own reporters. That's exactly what it means. That the watchdog role of the press is under serious attack and serious jeopardy because of constant threats from a bullying president. And, you know, if that offends you, if you voted for Trump, you cannot deny that what I'm saying is true. You cannot deny what I'm saying is true. Okay, now I've got a couple of slides about newspapers. The video lecture for this week covers history of newspapers. This is some current stuff that I couldn't quite squeeze in there. And first, I just want to throw in, because I'm a very opinionated guy, I love history, I love movies. There is a scene of someone reading a newspaper in Gladiator 2. Never happened. Never happened. Okay. Romans did not have newspapers. So if you watch Gladiator 2, when that scene comes up, you can yell and scream and go, my professor said that's wrong. And okay, there used to be something called classified ads that appeared in print newspapers. And I know y'all don't remember this. Ask your parents, ask your grandparents. If you wanted to buy a car, find a job, find a roommate, find a pet, whatever, you could go to the newspaper and you could pay money. You could put out an ad, or you could read the ads that were there. Like, say, you know, I've got an apartment for rent, $200 a month, $150 a month, whatever it cost back then. Things were much cheaper. You could, you know, let's say it was much cheaper. The newspaper made a lot of money from these because they really did not have to do much. They didn't have to have graphic artists. They didn't have sophisticated, high paid labor. It's just a person there who writes down what you say, and then you pay $50 a line or $200 for the whole ad or whatever it was. Might even be, you know, 50 cents a word or something. That's like almost free money for the newspaper. And classified ads were a huge, huge revenue stream years ago. Classified ads are no longer a revenue stream for the newspaper because of Craigslist. If you are asked on a multiple choice question, which media platform is largely responsible for eliminating classified ads as a revenue stream for newspapers, the correct answer is Craigslist. And here's oh, I took this from Craigslist. Hey, you want, look, someone, this is the kind of comics I buy. Someone's selling comics, $2 a pop in El Cajon. Okay, I got some slides about the current stuff with the newspaper industry, and it seems a little depressing. You're like, this is an industry in decline. Arsenault, why should I get a degree in journalism when it is a dying industry? I am going to try and change your opinion just a little bit if I can. The skills that we teach in journalism and media studies and the skills necessary to be an effective journalist are great skills that are applicable to almost any job that you could have. The ability to take complex information from a variety of sources, condense that, boil that down, and then present that information to someone in a clear, digestible, factual, and ethical way, right? If you can do all that, that is an amazing skill. You are going to get a job no matter where you go. Okay. That is going to be a skill people want to pay you for if you can communicate effectively. All right. So maybe the traditional outlet, the way of distributing news in the past, and I'm talking now specifically about analog newspapers, that is going away. We are finding new methods of distribution. People are not watching broadcast television at a certain time of day to watch Walter Cronkite deliver the news. That does not mean news is not important, okay? That does not mean that society does not need professional media practitioners to provide us information so that we can make educated decisions. We need that. We need that. All I'm saying is the old methods of distribution are not as economical as they once were. So it may seem as if this industry is in decline, this industry is going away. That's not the case. The industry is in a massive moment of transition, and the skills that we teach you in journalism and media studies are incredibly valuable. So don't look at these slides, get depressed, and be like, WTF, Arsenault, why am I in this class? Don't think that. Okay. Let me go back to the slides. Okay, back to the slides. What we got here is this lines, the kind of the lines that look like a camel's hump, show total estimated circulation of U.S. daily newspapers. If you sort of took an aggregate of all U.S. daily newspapers, there was a big period of circulation, 70s, 80s, 90s. Then around 2000, things start to go down. We get the internet. This is the number of actual print newspapers that were in circulation on a daily basis. Sunday is tracked separately than Monday through Friday, because Sunday is a big news day. There's a lot of ads, a lot of inserts, a lot of things like that appear only on Sundays because people are home Sundays and they have a lot of time. So that's why Sundays track separately than weekdays. But there is a sharp decline in the past several years. Now we have revenue. Okay, now we have revenue. Now here where it gets a little depressing here. Now we have revenue. This red line here says advertising. Advertising really peaks. Advertising was big, 20, 25 years ago. Advertising is big. Now advertising revenue has gone down because advertisers are finding different places to advertise, including social media, including the internet. That's taking a lot of, and Google ads and Facebook, all that stuff is taking a lot of the ad revenue away from newspapers and away from television. But look at the yellow line. The yellow line is money coming from circulation. That means people who actually pay money for a monthly or an annual subscription. That is going up. Newspapers used to make the bulk of their money from advertising. Now they're making a lot of money from circulation. They still have not made up all the money that they used to make. The transition from analog to digital technology is associated with the decline in overall profits. A common phrase, as people say, is we have traded analog dollars for digital dimes. That is a way of saying that online media outlets do make money, but in comparison to the way things used to be, media outlets used to be able to make a lot more money. And then we have, this is from September 2023. Wall Street Journal is by far the biggest newspaper in terms of circulation. That's thousands. 555,000 newspapers are printed each day as of 2023 for the Wall Street Journal. And then we have New York Times. And then you see a pretty sharp drop off with the New York Post, Washington Post, and other. I'm kind of, I think it's cool that Honolulu's in there. We got Hawaii in there. Shout out to Honolulu. And when you can access a newspaper for free, without having to pay any money, that was an old way. Publishers realized long ago that that doesn't work. So they have now started to charge money for people to access their content. There's different kinds of paywalls. Yeah, this is exactly the kind of thing that's going to show up on a quiz. You know it is. You guys are smart. You know it's smart. Free means there's no paywall at all. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. A hard wall means you cannot access anything. That's very rare. Wall Street Journal does well, but they're the exception that proves the rule. A hard wall is rare. What's more common is something like this: a freemium, where some of the content is free, but the extra exclusive content costs more. That is called a freemium, or a metered paywall. The most common type of paywall in the newspaper industry is the metered paywall, which means users get a certain amount of content for free. And then once you reach a certain number, then you have to pay for access. And yeah, I know you're saying, Arsenault, I can clear my cache. Arsenault, I can open a new browser. Yeah, I know that. You know that. Everybody knows that, right? But a metered paywall is the most common type of paywall. Where do you get your news from? For the people who answered, 74% say social media, and then we got a big chunk of people for online news websites. 7%, that's a couple people, said, my friends or family tell me what is important. So in response to the question of where do you get your news from, your friends and family tell you what's important. This refers to a communication theory known as two-step flow. Two-step flow says that media does not influence people so much, but it influences other people who then in turn filter that influence. And then we got a couple of people saying, I do not follow the news. Now, how does this compare to national data? Okay, this is some stuff from the Pew Research Center from about a year ago, August 2024. And here, this is not the same categories that I had, but it's kind of similar. 58% of people prefer to get their news from a digital device. I think that would suggest social media or an online news website. And 32% of people said TV. That's higher than the results that we saw from the class. But yeah, definitely the national trends are going that way. Now, how much TV do you watch in a day? By TV, I include streaming as well. How much TV do you watch in a day? Now, look at this. The blue there says less than an hour, and then we've got 1 to 2 hours. 2/3 of the class is claiming that they watch 2 hours of TV or less, and we've only got a couple of people, 18% there, saying more than 4 hours. How does this come? Now, this is class data. How does this compare to national data? How does this compare to national data? This is minutes per day. This was calculated by the company Nielsen. And look at that. According to this, which it does kind of vary, that's 3 hours and 34 minutes a day. That's I think where the class, and then you as you get older, people watch more. As you get older, people watch more. So either students in this class are underreporting the amount of television that you're watching, or you're really not watching television and you're not typical of national data as well. I think people are underreporting. I think people are underreporting. Okay. The national data shows that for people age 18 to 34, it's about 3.5 hours of television a day. 3.5 hours of television a day for people of, when I say you, I'm assuming most students in this class are into 18 to 34. Maybe we've got some in the older. If you're older, the national data says you watch even more TV. Now, favorite TV shows or movies. Okay. The answers that people gave and the responses that people gave were pretty diverse. Breaking Bad was mentioned by two people. Breaking Bad was one of the only things that was mentioned by two people. And there we have a graphic there on the right side of the screen. I made that little box of chicken wings. I mean, I bought some chicken wings from the store and just made a box for this sort of chicken franchise featured in Breaking Bad. And that's a blue, maybe it's a blue cocktail to go with the sort of blue drug that Walter White made, if you've seen Breaking Bad. Yeah, this photo was taken at the kitchen of Professor Amy Schmitz Weiss. I watched the finale of Breaking Bad with Professor Amy Schmitz Weiss. I made the chicken wings. I don't know the Funyuns. Did Jesse's guy character like Funyuns? And then Pretty Little Liars. I don't even know what that is. But I'm going to pull out for a moment and show. Okay, here this middle column shows the answers to favorite movie or TV shows. Empire Strikes Back. That's an acceptable answer. I think Rogue One's best Star Wars movie. We got a lot of Interstellar. That's a pretty good movie. Final Destination 3. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I really enjoyed that. And Pretty Little Liars. Yeah, Pretty Little Liars was mentioned twice, and Breaking Bad was mentioned twice as well. And why is that important? There is a theory of the long tail. The idea here is that media usage, the idea here is that media usage used to be clustered around blockbusters. Well, there was a small number of very popular items. Let's say 20% of media items generated 80% of the profit or 80% of the traffic. So I used to have a very small number of things that everybody congregated to: Bonanza, Gunsmoke, Seinfeld, Friends, even Big Bang Theory. Now we've moved into a world where there's so much niche content and so much diverse content that the red line on the right here, representing the new market, that there's more volume over here of things spread out, and people are not congregated around a smaller number of titles the way they used to. And we do see that in results from the class. Do you listen to podcasts? Do you listen to podcasts? About half the class has listened to a few, but do not regularly listen to podcasts. 30% of y'all don't listen to podcasts at all. And then we only got a couple people who say I regularly listen to 3 or more podcasts. I'm there. I listen to a number of podcasts, either while I'm walking or at the gym. I know I don't look like I go to the gym, but I assure you I do. Okay. According to national data, this is a little bit different, but the interest in podcasts has been increasing. 44% of the American public listen to a podcast monthly. What is your preferred way to listen to music? Overwhelmingly streaming. I get that. I'm not surprised. We've got a couple people saying vinyl and a couple people saying live performances. But yeah, I know streaming is. I mean, I like vinyl, but streaming is easier. How does this compare to national data? Well, I'm glad you asked. Here we have some data from the recording industry, and for revenue for 2024, 84% of the revenue came from streaming. And when it comes to physical formats, we're talking now CDs, cassettes, or vinyl records. Vinyl is the number one format for physical. So if you're buying a physical format, you're probably buying a vinyl record, probably not buying a CD, you're probably not buying a cassette tape. But the bulk of the revenue comes from streaming. Not surprised. Favorite music. What kind of music do y'all like? Just like with movies and TV shows, people's interests are kind of all over the place. EDM, that's that BB boop stuff, electronics, someone pressing a button on a laptop. I think that is classic rock. That encompasses quite a bit of stuff. The Eagles. Okay, the Eagles are not bad, but whenever someone says they like the Eagles, I think about this clip from The Big Lebowski.
Jesus, man, could you change the channel?
Fuck you, man. If you don't like my fucking music, get your own fucking cab.
I had a really
I'll
rough...
pull up to the side and kick your ass out.
Man, come on. I had a rough night, and I hate the fucking Eagles, man.
Out of my fucking cab. Out of man. Get me.
Man, hey!
Lauryn Hill. I think Lauryn Hill showed up more than once. I think two people said they liked Lauryn Hill, and I'll play a little bit of Lauryn Hill right here. My wife was a huge fan of that album. What is that called? The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Yeah, my wife loved that album. We got what else we got here? Kanye West. Oh, EDM again. There you go, the EDM again. Okay, female rap. I'm gonna play a clip from Missy Elliott just because I'm the professor and I can. I love this song. Boy,
oh boy, it's good to know ya. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. If you got a big, let me search it to find out how hard I gotta work. Yeah, it's your primitive, it's why I need number. It's your primitive, it's why I need number. If you're a fly.
Okay, now this, I don't even know how to say that. Yoasobi. I don't even know how to say that. I had to look this up. This was like, what is that? So I don't even know what this is. Is this like video game music? Is this some from anime? I don't really know what this is. Okay, and someone said Laufey. I looked this up too. I never heard this artist. So I'm going to play a little clip of Laufey. I guess that's how you say her name. Laufey reminds me of Austro Gilberto, who I think is from Brazil, doing Girl from Ipanema. I think it's safe to say that Laufey has heard the song Girl from Ipanema, which is not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to play first Laufey and then Girl from Ipanema.
Don't you notice how I get quiet when there's no one else around? Me and you and awkward silence. Don't you dare look at
Tall and tan and young and lovely, the girl from Ipanema goes walking, and when she passes, each one she passes goes.
Okay, how does the taste of the students at JMS 200 compare to global audience tastes? Here are the top 10 songs from 2024. When you're looking at on-demand auto streams, Benson Boone, Beautiful Things. He's the guy that jumps. He does a back flip or front flip, whatever. He's that flipping guy. Sabrina Carpenter, Billie Eilish, Shabuzi. I really like Shabuzi. I like that song, even though I don't drink alcohol any longer. I have to admit, I will sing along to Shabuzi. And yeah, then we got Taylor Swift in there. And then top albums. Now, this is interesting. We could spend a whole video lecture unpacking this, but you're looking at sales, but also streams as well. So if you combine all the different way that people purchase or listen to or consume music, Taylor Swift, far and away, top album from last year. And then we got Morgan Wallen. That guy seems like he might be a bit of a blank, but I like his music. And then we got Sabrina Carpenter, SZA, and Billie Eilish. Okay, lastly here, pack back questions. There were some interesting questions. If you could choose any superpower in the world, which would you choose? That was Alyssa. Blake says the ability to fly. What did Alyssa say? Oh, she wants invisibility. Blake wants the ability to fly. That would help with parking on campus. Cecilia wants to teleport. That would also help with parking on campus. Leor wants mind reading. I want to be able to read people's minds. And Amy says instant transportation, teleportation. I think that would be pretty good. And okay, here I've looked up a list of goofiest Marvel superheroes. 3D Man. I actually have the comic book from this 3D Man, which came out during the 3D movie craze years ago. And then we have Squirrel Girl. Okay, the strangest Marvel superpower of Squirrel Girl. She can control squirrels and have squirrels do her bidding. Okay, that's it. I'm going to play a song at the end of here. You've already answered the questions by a guy called Jesse Wells. He says, if you worked a little harder, you wouldn't be poor. If you take the time to listen to the lyrics, he's clearly being sarcastic. And I'm just going to play that song at the end. Whew, we're done.
If you worked a little harder, then you'd have a lot more. See the shame and the blame's on you for being so damn poor. It ain't the price gouging, and it ain't the inflation. It ain't everyone above you trying to make a buck from you and screwing the whole congregation. I had that reduced lunch, I had the benefit cards. Never occurred to me to blame my family on life being so damn hard. I should have paid attention back when I was in school. Then I could figure out the tax, I would know a lot of facts. I missed the class so they taught the rules. I was memorizing capitals, I was in the spelling bee. I must have missed the part where they taught the art of private equity. I was selling chocolate bars, I had a disorder. I was cutting up a frog, got lost in the fog, learning how to play recorder. If you only worked a little harder. If you worked a little harder. If you worked a little harder. If you worked a little harder, then you'd have a lot more. It's a shame and the blame's on you for being so damn poor. It ain't the banks, and it ain't the taxes. It ain't the payday loans and high rent homes and predatory fees and practices. Wave your dumb flag, whatever it means. But you should ask yourself, when it comes to health of the poor, really all that free if you only worked a little harder. If you worked a little harder. If you worked a little harder. If you worked a little harder, then you'd have a lot more. It's a shame and the blame's on you for being so damn poor.